Hello, hello, and welcome to the Continuity Report. It's all entertainment news. Today is July 21st, 2024. It's Season 1, Episode... What episode is this? 29. It's episode 29. This is indicative of our production values. I am Merwatt, and that is the visualizer for the Sentient AI.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for the Continuity Report.
Today we're going to be talking about, amongst other things in this article, this is gross, point blank, and a different spelling for gross. Confusing movies, like that last article. Memorable lines, unlike the previous two lines. More from other studios than Apple. Longest running game shows. Movies struggling in 2024. Twisters says nothing. And Beetlejuice. And the Rookie spinoffs, and Despicable Me for $5 billion, Alex. That and more, brought to you by ohmTown.com. All right. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is, number 5 today. And they are slowly being migrated over to YouTube. Both the live stream is always there, but it doesn't play well with the playlists. So yeah, I don't like it. So they get added to a playlist separately, and on top of that, they get turned into a podcast. So if you don't make it to either of those, and that's where you're going to get the podcast and the YouTube channel, that's where you're going to get the show notes, because Twitch just deletes since I pay for the service, it's 14 days, but I get 60 days because I pay for the service to retain the videos beyond the longer period of time. But at any rate, this first article that we're going to talk about is right there in the Continuity Report. Suits LA and Grosse Pointe Garden Society land series orders at NBC. It's official. Suits is back. The spinoff Suits LA, led by Stephen Amell, has received a series order picked up by NBC. Produced by UCP and Hypnotic, original show creator Aaron Korsh returns as writer and executive producer, and per the official logline, Suits LA follows Ted Black, aka Amell, a former federal prosecutor from New York. But that's really not why I want to find out about this Grosse Pointe Garden Society. I'm hoping that it is what I think it is, but I don't know anymore. Emily Longeretta.
Do you think it involves assassins doing some gardening?
Man, I just don't know. I don't know what's happening with this, because I haven't read anything about this, and this is why I put together the Continuity Report. The Continuity Report has two elements tied to it. One is I wanted to aggregate entertainment news in a way that I liked, with all the news and none of the noise, which is why ohmTown.com was actually created. On top of that, I want to do like reviews of movies and call out the insanity that might be contained within it, like somebody carrying a coffee cup around. This is kind of my standard go-to. They're carrying a coffee cup around like it's a football, and if that's how they treat a coffee cup, I wonder how they treat a newborn. So I wanted to put together a show that basically calls out this wackiness, right? Suddenly they're holding it in the left hand, then in the right hand, and then it's sitting on a table across the room, and all of that jazz. So Suits is back as Suits LA. Suits LA.
Wait. That was submitted because Suits has taken on like a life of its own on streaming. Like, it's a series that's already over, but it has gained like a massive following streaming.
So they're pulling it back from the dead. They're resurrecting it as Suits LA. And
maybe they're following like the NCIS model or something like that.
That's it. I mean, they can't do more with just Suits because that run has ended. So they spin up another organization and they call it Suits LA and give it a better budget and go, a former federal prosecutor from New York has reinvented himself representing the most powerful clients in LA. And his firm is at a crisis point, and to survive, he must embrace a role he held in contempt his entire career, which is what? A defense
I don't know.
attorney?
Maybe we would know that if we'd seen Suits, but...
Yeah, I think it's a defense attorney, right?
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
Ted is surrounded by a stellar group of characters who test the loyalties of to both Ted and each other, while they can't help but mix their personal and professional lives. Ugh. So, anyway, I'm really curious about this Grosse Pointe Garden Society, a drama. So it's not what I think it is. Starring Melissa Fumero, Anna Sophia Robb, Ben Rappaport, Matthew Davis, Alexander Hodge. Oh, really?
Well, they get caught up in murder, so it might not be as gardening focused as we might think.
Well, where do you bury the bodies? Get caught up in murder and mischief as they struggle to make their conventional lives bloom. Get it? Garden Society?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They don't say much about this.
When I first saw this, I figured it was near Grosse Pointe Blank, but I know Grosse Pointe is a location, so...
Interesting. It tells the story of four suburban garden club members with diverse backgrounds who get caught up in murder. Oh, well, that's kind of flat. So if it's just going to be that, I guess we'll have to take a look at it and see if it's worthy of long term. I mean, for crying out loud, we started getting into Only Murders in the Building. And that started out like, oh, all right. Then I said, it's 3 seasons, and then a couple of days later, hey, a 4th season for this is already coming, and we were like just gobsmacked by that. Like, my gosh, this has to be really good. And then this show does a whopper on the presentation and the writing, and it's just amazing. And we're coupling that with bouncing back and forth between Castle, which we're halfway through now, and Only Murders in the Building. Yeah, but everybody has a podcast, so we'll see what this link
including the Yard guys or whatever.
Yeah, man, and they're like crushing it. I wonder, what I didn't do? I didn't look to see if either of these actually exist.
That would be neat. I bet they do. It just seems like something they would do with the studio.
That does. It actually sounds like fun. Even if it is just like a demo, like a couple of episodes kind of a thing. Hey, while we're talking about podcasts, if you hit ! You actually type in TCR for the continuity report, you'll get all of the show notes for this episode, which contains the links to the articles that we're talking about over in ohmTown.com. If you hit ! pod, that'll give you the links to the podcast. And if you hit ! show notes, if you missed any of our previous shows, you'll be able to extract the show notes, aka the URLs to the articles. Now, it's just as easy to go over to YouTube and click on the show notes for each of our videos. We live stream over to Twitch and YouTube at the same time. But, like I said, it's a hot mess over there in terms of where the stream actually shows up, because it doesn't show up in the conventional presentation of videos. It's under the live category only. And so I move them over into the general feed as well. So go over to youtube.com/ohmTown and you'll see all of the videos. Over 1,000. All right. Well, anyway, let's go on to the next article. This next article is over in the continuity report as well. 8 confusing movies I only got on a rewatch, says this author over at Screen Rant. So 8 confusing movies. Stephen Holland is the author who put this article together. Rewatching confusing movies like The Big Sleep can reveal hidden narratives and add layers of understanding to the overall story. Films like 2001: A Space Odyssey challenge viewers with complex themes that become clearer upon repeated viewings. And movies like Primer and Mulholland Drive may require multiple rewatches to fully grasp their dense and intricate plots. So Primer, by the way, is a time travel movie that will probably get highlighted in the Temporology channel when that kicks off. And if you're interested in hosting or co-hosting any of the channels, go over to YouTube, or not YouTube, go over to ohmTown.com and look at all of the channels that we have. Each of those requires a host or co-host. Then send me an email. If you want to change something, you can steer the ship, but we can talk about stuff. All right, so they think about the most rewarding film viewing experience that they've ever had. They have to give it kudos to the confusing movies that they only properly understood upon a rewatch. Well, it's great to have a film that can be immediately understood. Sometimes actors, directors, and writers release more challenging works that must be revisited and reinterpreted through multiple screenings that add to our understanding of the overall narrative. Plus, sometimes you go and watch a movie. This is me talking, not the author. Sometimes you go to a movie and you just go, I'm not in the mood. I'm not getting it. I'm not in the right mental state.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of that, right? You have to even be in the mood for whatever the genre is, let alone the complexity of the movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you go out on a date and somebody springs the big sleep on you and you're like, well, this isn't Netflix and chill here. You know, I don't want to watch The Big Sleep, for crying out loud. The Big Sleep was among the best film noirs ever made and was also the very first film noir that the author ever watched. As a young film fan, they were excited to see this adaptation of Raymond Chandler's classic hard-boiled detective story, and immediately connected with the performance of Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. However, upon first viewing, they have to admit that once all the conspiracies had been uncovered and Detective Philip Marlowe had solved the case, they were incredibly confused and wasn't fully aware that they weren't fully sure that they understood the convoluted resolution. So you go back and you rewatch it and they figure out, oh, I missed this, I blinked, I was talking to somebody, etc. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Honestly, this is one that is just a visual spectacle, and its grandiose nature of what it is, and the concepts of what is the creation of life and consciousness and all of that. You can watch it a bunch of times, and depending on your state of your life, you understand a different context to it. They said that they understood it as rife with meaning and symbolism. However, unlike other Stanley Kubrick films that they felt got right away, such as The Shining and Full Metal Jacket, which I don't know if people really got The Shining, legitimately,
Probably not. They're just probably surface level, right?
Yeah, and Full Metal Jacket is much more straightforward, but it says despite its confusing nature, they returned to 2001. While the meaning of the monolith was lost on them the first time, when rewatching, they felt it connected disparate aspects of the film and gave it a cohesive message about their evolution from ape-like primates into space-traveling explorers. Can't say they understand every minute of detail of 2001, and that's probably... nobody does. Because I think some of it was nothing more than an acid trip. That's okay. Then there's Mulholland Drive. Confusing nature of Lynch's films extend into Mulholland Drive. Powerful psychological thriller is best described as an inscrutable mystery box, and they did not get it the first time around. Again, by watching it multiple times, you see more because you're not distracted by other things,
well, that's true. When you have a complex movie, the first time through, there's too many things going on, and you might hone in on whatever one character or whatever it is, and then you're missing all these other things.
Yeah, and so I would busy, complex movies. I would probably watch multiple times to see
if they were good, right, and caught your attention. They were complex, and you're kind of like, I don't know. What was the one that we sit through it again?
What was the one that I swear we saw from a camera angle that shouldn't have been published?
Talented Mr. Ripley.
Oh God, the Talented Mr. Ripley! I swear we actually saw the lightning and rain and thunder sound effect generating equipment because we could actually see above the set in several scenes. It was surreal. We actually ended up leaving that. Yes, I took the Sentient USB drive, the Sentient AI, and the Raspberry Pi. Anyway, that's inside baseball. Anyway, Primer is really great. They basically discover how to build a time machine, but you'll have to watch it. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. It's quite a lot of fun to watch Primer. Some people call it Primer, but they build upon this concept, a simple concept of time travel, and they stack it layer upon layer. It was made for just $7,000, but it made $842,000 apparently via the numbers at box office. Great acting. Great storyline, kind of hints at other issues with time travel, like psychotic fracture. So there's this theory that if you go through time travel, it breaks your your brain,
like your psyche or something.
Yeah,
because you can't deal with it.
Well, I mean, because yeah, you might as well just call it that, because the reasons vary depending on how the temporal nature of time travel shifts you. You don't come back from the time travel as you come back as a disjointed copy of you, that kind of a thing. But so as time goes on, people lash out. They think that something's happening when it's not, or they try to stop something that is happening, but they do it in a way that is counterintuitive to their personality prior to the discovery and travel through time. But it's just a blast to watch this, and then watch it once and then go and do a search for the breakdown of the timeline in Primer, and you will be blown away by how more complex it is than how the story actually takes it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I would say that it's probably one of the primary factors in my desire to spin up what is a show called Temporology. And that's right there. It's the study of the science and science fiction of time and time travel. That's kind of the byline for Temporology. But basically, it's a show that's going to talk about time and time travel and how it actually exists in a pseudo sort of way. In that, sorry, someone posted, is it okay to quote what you just typed in the chat? I normally ask before I quote somebody, and so let me know, and then I'll ask the question publicly. But so this idea of temporology has always been sitting in the back of my mind, like, let's start up a show. I want to do that kind of thing. And it's been years and years and years and years and years. So I definitely want to do it. But I'll ask I won't say the name of the person that asked until they actually tell me that it's okay. But so I was asked in chat, can you name one thing that has nothing to do with science? And I'm glad you asked the question, and I'll be blunt. If you watch the show, you will realize, not just Continuity Report, but all of the shows in ohmTown. There's 7 podcasts that we produce. We do 7 shows on Sunday, but we do a daily show Monday, every day of the week, called Non Sequitur News. So my understanding of
well, wait, is this movies or just in general?
In general. It's basically because the person asked, can you name one thing that has nothing to do with science? And no, there is absolutely nothing to do. Everything is connected to science. I'll put it to you that way. There is not one thing that is devoid of science, either through the analysis to understand the ephemeral nature of it, like what is the human consciousness, or what is the
human emotions, right? There is a scientific or biological component to that.
There is, but then we enumerate the fantastical. We empower it with something beyond something that we can say is bound in science. And so
well, in all objects, I mean, they're, at least in terms of like how they're made, there's probably a scientific aspect to it, even if the item isn't used in science.
Right. So the person in chat hasn't actually given me permission to say their name. But so yeah, they actually said that their teacher asked them a question and they responded with God. And so, yeah, you can go the theological, but there is actually science bound in theological forces. Now you can go, well, you know, it goes beyond that, but it's much more involved than just making that statement and then moving on, because there's a whole lot of human-centered empowerment around theological forces. So yeah, it goes beyond this show, but I didn't want to just let that dangle. The show is really...
And it's an interesting question.
But yeah, it's absolutely an interesting question, and one that I don't shy away from. But normally a question like that, I would try and couch in... this show is about entertainment, and I just wanted to support the discussion, but say, hey, come on back. Normally we can talk about that kind of stuff on other days, but I understand what you're getting at. And yeah, there's some things that go beyond what we can identify with science, and it's largely because we don't understand it. And a lot of things like faith and theology go beyond science, because you can start discussing it, but I think it goes way beyond today's show. But thank you for the question, and thank you for hanging out in chat. Appreciate it. So these movies, like what you mentioned, one of them, like 2001: A Space Odyssey, kind of leans into that, right? What really is the things that led to our creation, our evolution, our processing into humans. And they say we came from ape-like primates into space traveling explorers. And there is scientific documentation that references that, but then depending on who you talk to, completely different animal goes beyond that. And it depends on who you are. So then Primer goes beyond pretty much everything with time travel. It becomes damn near scientific supernatural experience, because they're using science to do something that is way beyond what we currently even have a primitive understanding of. Although in the concept of temporology, we can tune ourselves to obtain more information from the world around us, and people who aren't trained to observe the world at this more sped up nature would perceive somebody as being like a time traveler. And it's actually a demonstrable experience. Fighter pilots, race car drivers, esports participants, I would say, more on the advanced side of it, highly competitive esports players, react, obtain information faster than many people in sports, physical sports like boxing, even baseball, etc. The more trained you are to observe the world, the slower the world tends to be. It's quite a fascinating concept, but we'll talk about that as time goes on too, which is ironic. So Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, they basically remove memories. And Jim Carrey kind of pops out of the, googly kind of ha-ha character to become somebody that is troubled by their relationship of the memory and the memory of their girlfriend. And so they actually get it removed from their mind, but they're always burdened by this something is there. I'm Not There, which I haven't even heard of. I don't recall it. It's from 2007. Says
I don't know that one.
They returned to I'm Not There years later and found upon a rewatch that they'd previously confused me with how rife with meaning as I understood more about Dylan's life story. I could appreciate how Marcus Carl Franklin played an 11-year-old African-American boy named Woody Guthrie was linked to Dylan's earliest influences in folk music. When rewatching for the second time, they realized that Richard Gere's role as Billy the Kid was intrinsically linked to Dylan's real-life role, movie role, in the film Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. So it became kind of meta because they had a different context of Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid in the context of I'm Not There.
Interesting.
But rewatching it wouldn't actually make that possible without actually watching the real life movie role in the film Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Right, which you might not know to do.
Yep. Well, now you do. And Synecdoche, or Synecdoche, sorry, what am I saying? So New York. When watching Charlie Kaufman's postmodern drama Synecdoche, is that it, right? Is that how it's pronounced? New York?
I'm actually not sure how to pronounce it. And after the George Jenkins or George Jimenez incident,
You're afraid.
I'm reluctant to weigh in on pronunciations.
Yeah. So as the story progressed over decades, Caden Cotard's play became increasingly complex. I have to admit, at times they got lost amid the dense script, insightful symbolism, and careful attention to detail. So after the credits, the second viewing became an even more enriching experience as details of Caden's life and those around him that had previously gone over my head were clear as day. That's again because they were confused, not really confused, but it's information overload, which is why I created ohmTown. You have too much information, you can't manage it, you start punting things, hoping that you'll catch up to it later, even if it is at a subconscious level.
Right, but you never do, right?
Correct.
Because then you just keep getting more stuff piled on.
Yeah. So, and then number one is The Lobster, which I've purchased, but I've never watched. Basically, they get an option to come back. Oh, wait, no, this is something different, if I remember right. So it says still, I have to admit, unconventional style and darkly comic narratives can often make multiple viewings hit home. So The Lobster is one of these movies, as although I could appreciate the satirical black comedy at the heart of the concept, its deadpan narrative was alienating when seen for the first time. They were impressed by Colin Farrell's reserved performance, but the true genius of The Lobster was not immediately apparent to them, the author again. However, when watching The Lobster for the second time, it was struck how effectively the film deconstructed societal expectations around love and romance. So The Lobster was an eccentric and substantial film with much more to offer than was initially obvious when experienced for the first time. So I haven't managed to actually watch The Lobster.
That does seem like it'd be an intense first watch.
Yeah, so The Lobster is a dystopian comedy set in a world where single people are forced to find a mate within 45 days or be turned into like an animal of their choice. I don't think it's just a lobster. But yeah, I think they get, so turned into an animal. So the film follows David, a recently divorced man who checks into a hotel where he has 45 days to find a new partner or else he will be transformed into a lobster.
I mean, not your normal crisis.
Yeah. All right. Let's play some catch up here. Now, the next article is over in the continuity report, 11 memorable lines from forgettable films. Sometimes a single quote can carry an entire movie. More often, good films are built from sharp screenplays with writing that acquires even more meaning thanks to the emotions evoked by the narrative. So, forgettable movies. Their website's broken. So this is over at avclub.com. I don't know who is the author yet. Maybe it says it at the very bottom. Cecil Parker. Yeah. So the article is titled 11 Memorable Lines from Forgettable Movies. The deck statement says our cultural lexicon is sometimes more forgiving than Rotten Tomatoes. And so let's see if they actually have, is it broken out in any way or?
I think it's a scroll.
Oh, like a slideshow, but horizontal?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know. It's not doing it. Let me refresh it. Maybe it's, yeah, I think their page is broken. So it says, we gathered up 11 memorable lines from forgettable movies and dug into what happens with these disconnected phrases. Go ahead, make my day. Oh, there we go. That time it worked. Oh, no, it didn't. What the heck?
Yeah, it has the next one there.
Yeah, I know, but it's not. Oh, it's taking time to activate. Right. See, like their page is kind of broken. So go ahead, make my day from Sudden Impact. And then it refreshes the whole page. I've had it with these snakes on this plane. I had to filter that one.
Yeah, there was some bleeping in there.
It doesn't. They link to videos, the little snippets. See how it's not letting me? Let me see if it'll do it now. Yeah, okay. So I live my life a quarter mile at a time. The Fast and the Furious. The only reason why this has anything to do with anything is that it's the title of the movie is what gives it any provenance.
Right.
So, oof, what's going on with their site? So, see, it doesn't activate it until...
Yeah.
In Street Fighter, it says, but for me, it was Tuesday. They actually give context about this underneath the little video snippet after a long speech by Ming-Na Wen's Chun-Li. Raul Julia reminds everyone why his performance as General M. Bison is the only thing worth remembering about the 1994 Street Fighter adaptation. Bison killed Chun-Li's father after a failed raid on their village and, as we find out, doesn't remember it at all. Failure or not, this event just wasn't special enough to deserve a place in Bison's memory. Oh, that's not letting me go either. Come on. Go. Yeah, this thing is broken. It's driving me nuts. So in Spy Kids 2, The Island of Lost Dreams, do you think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created? So goes infinitely harder than the movie around it, and similar to Street Fighter, it comes about from giving tasty, scene-chomping writing to a performer who's all too happy to give his all. Steve Buscemi. Buscemi's mad scientist doesn't live in a bad movie. Robert Rodriguez's hyper-stylized filmmaking actually fits his preteen action franchise perfectly, and the combo doesn't truly get stale until Spy Kids 3D. Game over.
It's all in the title.
Yeah, really. Come on. There we go. I will find you and I will kill you from Taken, which he has a certain set of skills that he's honed over what does he say? Something about a long career or something like that. A particular set of skills with which he will find and kill whoever took his daughter was enough to revitalize Neeson's career, provide endless parody fodder, and finance 2 sequels and a TV series. Yep.
Wow.
Pretty wild. Come on, refresh. I don't know if there's a timer on this or what, but I'm going to have to call it.
There might be. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to have to move on. So the next article is over in Wanted. It's a report. Apple TV Plus will soon get a lot more movies made by studios other than Apple. Apple TV Plus has carved out a niche for itself with strong original programming, and while it's still far behind like Netflix, look, Apple is pretty damn content in terms of subscribers. It will slowly grind and accrue more and more customers.
It just doesn't have as much content, right? I mean, Netflix has been around longer than Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, and Apple is actually making its own content for a lot of it right out of the gate. Right. So to build on that, Apple is talking with major studios about ways to complement its slate So there's a report that more is going to be coming out. Samuel Axon over at arstechnica.com put this article together. And it says, according to Bloomberg's reporters Lucas Shaw and Thomas Buckley, who cite people familiar with Apple's workings, those sources say Apple is having discussions with more than one large film studio about bringing more movies to the service. Hey, welcome back. Sorry, someone in chat. So Apple previously experimented with this by licensing around 50 movies and making them available on the service for limited runs over the past several months. That experiment seems to have gone well, leading Apple to begin laying the groundwork for expanding on that. So I don't know if they're really going to be talking about, they don't really talk about additional shows, but it says it's worth noting that Apple has found some big success in terms of series like Ted Lasso, Severance, The Morning Show. They don't mention the two, whatchamacallit?
Is some
Foundation?
of their sci-fi stuff?
Yeah. Foundation?
Like Silo.
Silo? Yeah. Yeah, they don't
I can't think
mention
what else. Like whatever the one that was, it was like billed as a thriller, but it was kind of a horror movie or show.
Oh, really?
I can't think of the name of it. It was about the astronaut.
Oh, right. Yeah, I don't even remember that one. That was so traumatic that you kind of bounced out of that. Yeah, so. Yeah, let's keep on going. It says services like TV Plus are a growing part of Apple's business, which has historically been focused on hardware sales. It was second quarter of 2024 fiscal year. The service bucket accounted for $24 billion in quarterly revenue, which is more than half the revenue generated by iPhone hardware sales alone. Dun, dun, dun. So a question was asked, and again, this is kind of like outside the framework of the show, but I'm really curious about this. And I mean, I can address it, but the question is, people who lift, I'm going to summarize. So if somebody lifts a car, but it goes beyond what their normal strength would be, you say it's our nervous system that would be the stopper because it makes us feel our limits, whereas our brain can know the limitations, but the curious side of our brain would try anyways. It's not really about the cure in this context, and at least in the proposed example. If someone has enough drive, motivation, adrenaline can drive, and motivation can drive somebody to exceed what their normal constraints would be through force of will alone. And it's largely a matter of biochemical forces, the mental drive to save somebody, let's say, because a car has fallen on somebody, and adrenaline motivating somebody. And it could be other things, more ephemeral, but for the most part, that is believed to be, that is understood to be, and when people are examined for their extraordinary actions, there are no other biological functions other than the possibility of these driving forces like motivation, fear, and then pure adrenaline and the mind's ability to set aside pain to perform some function. So, yeah. All right, let's keep on going. The next article is over in the continuity report. 17 longest running game shows in television history. And this is closer to like non sequitur news because I'm bouncing between these two ideas. So I'm going to try to avoid that. But the longest running TV shows over at screenrant.com put together. Sean S.
These are
Leos.
game shows.
Yeah,
Okay,
these are game
not
shows,
just
right?
regular shows. Okay.
Yeah. 17 longest running game shows in television history.
I'm going to go with Wheel of Fortune. Might be one of them. Not because of the picture, but that's been around for a while because they just had a big to-do about the host who had been there, I think, since the beginning.
What, Wheel of Fortune?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Jeopardy for sure. They like the names that they have on here it's kind of giving 3 of them away pretty easy. Price is Right.
It is.
Oddly enough, I'm going to go with Family Feud.
Oh, that's probably right because it had multiple hosts.
It has multiple hosts, yeah. So some of the longest running game shows of all time have managed to stay entertaining, due to their unique formats and charismatic hosts. Shows like Jeopardy, Family Feud have successfully transitioned to new hosts without losing their popularity. Although I think Family Feud, you don't see it like, it isn't really so much, how do I put that? It doesn't seem to be in the public conscious, right? People don't know that Family Feud really exists, other than it exists in daytime TV. But people are passionately aware of Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, and Price is Right, mainly because of their primary hosts. Not science. Sorry, I asked a question in chat. Are you a science teacher? Not science in the conventional sense, like biology or something. So the best game shows are the ones that are so fun to watch that new hosts can still successfully carry them. No one could have thought that Bob Barker would be replaced on The Price is Right or Richard Dawson on The Family Feud, although Richard Dawson was problematic. Wheel of Fortune will have the same challenge, but when it comes to the longest running game show of all time, there is a mountain of series that have lasted well over 20 years with being on air for half a century. So Match Game was live for 22 years, but it was broken up across 4 different decades. And I really liked Match Game. That was a lot of fun to watch, and I wish that it could come back, but the cost to have high profile celebrities doing a show like this would be exorbitant. They're all well-known actors. And so, yeah, it would be great to have this back. I won't be able to go through all of these. It's just extraordinarily long. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire for 22 years? Hollywood Squares for 24 years. That actually met its end probably due to politics, not because it was a dated concept. And the cost would be extraordinary. Again, trying to get 9
right, it was all celebrities, right?
Celebrities, yeah. It would probably be better to see, it's Hollywood Squares, so you have to get people from Hollywood. Then Password. That would be a fun show, 24 years, but it's trivia, and boy, oh boy, I don't know what kind of like mean jokes would be the primary mover of the passwords.
Right.
Oh gosh, I want to say something, but yeah. So What's My Line, 24 years. Pyramid for 27 plus years. I guess it's still around, but again, it's kind of like Family Feud. You have no idea that it exists. Are any of these others? They have plus next to them if they're still running, right?
No, I don't think they are. But the biggest thing I've noticed so far is that multiples of these have had breaks and at multiple points, which is surprising. But I guess it's one of those like, don't let the show die. Keep it going. Like you wouldn't think after 5 years, for example, they get it going again.
Yeah. But then they resurrect them and then it's gone. But this one here, Newt Veer Newt, which is probably being pronounced incorrectly because it's in Afrikaans. I guess it's a like note for note. Let's see, Newt Veer Newt, which translates from Afrikaans to a music note for a cash note. What? That translates? It's the same 2 words.
It basically is
changes
note
context
for note. But then, yeah, in context, I don't think the words actually say that.
Oh, so one newt is note, and the other newt is the cash note. And so, yeah, interesting. That's pretty funny. Yeah. So that's actually pretty clever, you know? but it's a musical
know.
game show, and it's been around for 33 years. The cost
Wow.
has to be astronomical.
Exactly.
The show involves four
Especially if
contestants.
it's like well-known acts.
That is pretty awesome. Oh my gosh, I gotta find this. Let's see. The series used to feature a house band that would provide musical clues, but a DJ was brought on in 2012. Interestingly, the series also acts as more than just a game show, as it frequently features musical acts who perform for the contestant and the audience. In the show, like many popular trivia-based games, also brings winners back to participate in semifinals and grand finals as the ultimate winner. That's pretty awesome. Okay, hold on a second. Let's so I'll follow up on your question here in a minute. Let's make a deal. 37 plus years, depending on the host. It's been, it would come back and then it would disappear. This last host, what is his name? He's from Whose Line Is It Anyway? I forgot his name because it's been so long since I watched it.
Oh, it says Wayne something. I can't
Wayne
see
Brady.
the bottom line.
Yeah, sorry, Wayne Brady. So Let's Make a Deal has collected over 6,000 episodes. We're already at 1,000 in 2.5 years. For crying out loud.
Well, there you go.
We have 37 years to catch up. That'll be easy. 6 years from now. Yeah, this is actually fun. It's a no-brainer kind of a game. Some people dress up. I don't know who. The costumes used to be a little bit more crazy. It seems like I can actually like make out these people really easily compared to the costumes that I've seen in the past for Let's Make a Deal. Anyway, so it's been around 37 years, and I'm going to move a little bit faster. Countdown, 42 years. Wheel of Fortune for 48 years. But I thought that Pat Sajak was retiring, wasn't it?
He did, like at this last season.
Yeah.
But they're going to continue it, I think.
Who do you know who's taking it over? Any idea yet? Yeah, will retire in 2024. Oh, Ryan Seacrest. Wow. Okay. All right. Question of Sport, which I've never seen. 50 years. The pilot was in 1968. Wow. And it took breaks.
Whoever decided to put that on the air, I guess, was doing something right.
Yep. The series ended its run in 2023 due to funding issues. Oh, that's a bummer. So, yeah, it doesn't have the plus anymore. Sábado Gigante is 53 years, and that ended. That's a bummer, too. That had been around forever. I remember seeing that. Jeopardy's been around for 54 years and has been hopping to different hosts. I don't know who's going to take over for sure now. Ken Jennings had been there for some time. Mayim Bialik was also co-hosting and then got bounced for some reason. I'm sure that there's a lot more than just one. People always find reasons for something. I just want somebody funny periodically and smart doing the show. So we'll see if they can find somebody to replace Alex Trebek. Who can fill Alex Trebek's shoes for 1,000? University Challenge. 55 years. University Challenge. I think I saw this at a couple of points in my academic career. But that's what it is. I think it's students. Yeah. University students compete in rounds of trivia throughout the season until one university team is left standing. It's kind of like an academic competition.
Right. I forgot what those are called, but I know what you're talking about.
Oh my God. Déchiffrer et de lettres. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. My God, it's French, right? So yeah, it's a French show. Has been on the air consistently since 1965. Numbers and letters. So I should have known that. Anyway, it has seen multiple international versions, and number one is The Price is Right. 60 plus years, and it's still going. Yep. Drew Carey, who still hosts the show today, of all the longest running game shows of all time, Price is Right has outlasted them all.
I mean, I
Changing
guess
some of
the
it.
networks just keep them going if they're still getting views and
Yeah.
advertising dollars.
Yep, for sure. Okay. I'm going to have to keep on moving with this, but you're asking questions in chat that take a longer, deeper discussion. Yeah, as long as you take care of yourself, I think that you should be able to train as hard as you want, whatever it is. Just don't harm yourself in the process of seeking, I guess, an ideal that is irrationally exuberant, i.e., if you harm yourself, then you need to stop, seek what the issue is while you're training so hard, and find balance between health and safety. So this next movies are struggling in this next article is movies are struggling in 2024, but one genre is thriving. 2024 hasn't been a great year for movies except for one genre, so let's find out what it is. Alex Welch over at digitaltrends.com put the article together. Really? Are they? So the majority of this year's releases have, in fact, turned out to be either good or mediocre. That's to say nothing of how uneven 2024's box office numbers have been, with films like Civil War and Beekeeper overperforming, while seemingly obvious hits like The Fall Guy and Furiosa have fallen short of financial expectations. I think they're going to say that it's low budget.
Well, right. I mean, it's all, I don't know. They're throwing too many dollars at things and they're expecting people to flock to theaters, and that's not happening.
Yeah. So spring saw the horror genre flourish. The future looks bright for horror, and diversity plus quality equals success. So I don't know, the horror movies, Night Swim, do any of these actually come off as popping as big winners in the box office?
As mega hits? No, but they might be if they had real low budget
yeah, that ratio might be tremendous.
Like none of these stand out to me. Maybe First Omen. I think I heard more about that one than the others.
And no worries in chat. Not really interrupting the discussion or anything. It's all part of it, and that's how we are. So I just wish that I could dedicate more time. But we can always come back and ask other questions, or ask deeper questions about the same topics that you're asking right now. And I'll follow up as I can and as appropriate. So thanks for coming and hanging out. Appreciate it. So that says that's thanks in no small part to genre-bending experiments like I Saw the TV Glue, Handling the Dead, and In a Violent Nature, all of which boldly presented new twists on stories and tropes that audiences have otherwise seen before. None of this makes it doesn't really ring a bell or anything.
No. So Maxine, though, we've seen a lot about.
We know the name.
And Longlegs, we're hearing a lot about that.
Yeah, now Longlegs. Longlegs was like freak people out.
Just came out, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it has a huge name in it. Probably sacrificing something to be part of it because they wanted to be part of something like that. Maxine, again, we've heard a lot about it, but I don't remember seeing any numbers saying that it's extraordinary.
No, I don't either.
Booming or anything, right? And it says, but they say the future looks bright for horror. M. Night Shyamalan's Trap, Zoe Kravitz, Blink Twice. M. Night Shyamalan's Trap is, I thought, from his daughter or something like that.
I thought so too.
Huh.
Unless they're now competing.
Yeah. Now I'm confused. Interesting. So this fall's horror slate, meanwhile, includes Heretic, an exciting A24 thriller that stars Hugh Grant as a madman who traps a pair of young Mormon missionaries and decides to put their faith to the test. I've actually seen the intro to that, and it starts out as a horror film, but they don't go too deep in the trailer.
By the way, Trap is directed by M. Night Shyamalan, but it has Salika Shyamalan in the movie.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's the daughter connection.
Yep. And I guess they're redoing Nosferatu, which is from like 1926 or something like that. Spinning it back new again. Everything old is new again. All right, folks, let's keep moving. The next article is over in it's in ohmTown, but Non Sequitur News is where it's been aggregated to. Twisters doesn't mention climate change to avoid saying anything message oriented, which basically amounts to it says nothing. Charles Pulliam Moore over at The Verge puts the article together. The deck statement says Twisters director Lee Isaac Chung says the movie doesn't talk about climate change because he didn't want audiences to feel as if they were being preached to. Well, I don't know. Maybe you kind of have to do that sometimes. Get a little preachy because people aren't buying into it. So it would have made sense if Twisters, a film about storm chasers studying a spate of unusually powerful and destructive tornadoes, worked climate change into the story, but in a recent interview, they chose not to because they didn't want it to be message-oriented. But what is a movie about unusually powerful and destructive tornadoes called Twisters that follows off of researchers doing research into why tornadoes are as powerful as they are right now? Quite fascinating. So as a weather disaster sequel whose premise boils down to what if tornadoes, but bigger and sometimes on fire, Twisters seems...
Fire-nados.
Yeah, fire-nados. We should throw some sharks in there and call it a fire sharknado. So the realities of how researchers are still trying to understand the relationship between climate change and the kinds of storms that cause catastrophic destruction. No. We're pretty aware of what is going on with ever more powerful and destructive tornadoes. Powerful equates to destructive unless nobody's in the way of it. No, they're getting bigger, they're more powerful, they're longer lasting, they start earlier, they end later in the season, they're spinning up faster in more regions, for crying out loud. Anyway, you should really mention it because if somebody wants to turn off to watch the movie, maybe that's the time where they need to be activated a little bit. Hey, guess what? This movie is brought to you by climate change and climate change awareness. So in which
that would have been really good, like even leaning into it further and going, hey, ticket proceeds go to fill in the blank foundation.
Yeah, I think you're right. It would have been nice. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. Jenna Ortega heads to the afterlife in new Beetlejuice trailer. Jenna Ortega and Winona Ryder return to Winter River for a supernatural adventure in the new trailer Beetlejuice. If you haven't looked at this trailer, it's actually a lot of fun. But Dan Girolamo over at digitaltrends.com put the article together. The Wednesday actress stars as Astrid Dietz, the teenage daughter of Lydia Dietz, played by Winona Ryder. In the latest footage, Astrid does not believe in ghosts, noting that only gullible people believe in that kind of crap. However, Astrid comes face to face with one of these spirits after being abducted into the underworld. As a result, Lydia has no choice but to team up with Michael Keaton's Beetlejuice. Sorry, I was just looking.
Did you just say it 3 times?
I did say it 3 times.
Oh my goodness.
We'll see it. We'll say it. And if you see anything pop up in your visualizer, then just say it 3 times real fast. As a result, Lydia has no choice but to team up. So confronting the unknown, conquering your fears, there's nothing harder, Lydia says before embarking on her mission to the afterlife. There's a trailer here, so follow the link through ohmTown over to digitaltrends.com and you'll learn more about it. But it has really cool special effects in it. Michael Keaton comes across pretty much as Beetlejuice. Although I would say in this little still, the makeup doesn't seem so much part of him as painted on him. So I hope that the movie itself comes across a little bit better. Back in the director's chair for Beetlejuice is Tim Burton, who's also helmed Beetlejuice, the original. The 1988 film starred Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis as deceased couple Adam and Barbara Maitland, who find themselves haunting their home after dying in a car accident. I don't know if the Maitlands are going to return in any form in this movie, but
Yeah, I don't know.
The dude with the shrunken head returns in multiple forms, always being referred to as Bob. Hold down the fort, Bob, and it just looks around.
Well, that's good. I mean, I hope they bring in a lot from the original, but given the length of time, I'm not expecting multiple returns.
Yep. We'll see. Let's keep moving. Next article is over in, well, come on, Arc. Over in the Continuity Report, Channel 8, the Rookie spin-off shows we would love to see. I'm going to move pretty quick through this because these are one of those things where we're like, yeah, we want to see this, but who knows if it'll actually happen.
But it's not actually in the works, right?
Yeah. So the article, it's like a feel-good, like if it happens, then awesome. But ABC canceled the Rookie Feds due to lack of popularity, but a new spin-off could still happen. Yeah, I never felt the Feds part of the Rookie would actually amount to much. Oscar Hutchinson.
The characters didn't have the same draw as the Rookie. Like, you didn't really gravitate toward the characters, I don't think.
My understanding is there was only that one woman that was the one FBI agent, and that person actually reminded me of somebody in my real world, and that blew me away. I was like, whoa, wait, did they actually talk to that person?
Right.
Because it almost
Maybe so.
embodied their life. It was really interesting.
Right.
So Oscar Hutchinson's complex character adds depth to the Rookie with potential for his own spin-off, and characters like Bailey Nunn, right? Is it Nunn or Noon?
Right, Noon.
Wade Gray and Lucy Chen could also lead successful spin-off series. I do not see that, but that's okay. Let's see what they actually
I don't know who Oscar Hutchinson is. Oh, okay.
He's on parole and helping the force, but that's not actually true, right?
No, I think he's working against them actively. Didn't he just break somebody out of prison? Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, dude. Next, you're going to say Dumbledore dies. What the hell?
Oh, no.
Anyway, yeah, I don't see it. It says this echoes the hit TV series White Collar, which saw the team. What? Saw the team
up.
Oh, sorry. The way that it's written. Saw the team up between an FBI agent and a white collar criminal, which white collar criminal, this guy is not.
No, he most definitely is not.
Yeah.
But the white collar was a fun series.
Yeah, I really like it.
But it was also pretty lighthearted. I'm not sure this character is going to lead the lighthearted storyline.
The show has not been lighthearted in any of its seasons. There's little fits of lightheartedness, but
right.
White Collar was a fun watch. This gets dark really quick. Lucy Chen and Tim Bradford leave the force. Sure, I see that happening, but I don't see them as what kind of a two former cops move in together.
Like have a baby
bosom buddy,
kind of show. Yeah, I don't see that. Like if they started their own PI firm or something, maybe. Like if it was something more like the Rookie, I could see that probably working.
Yeah, I don't see that. To be together, they have to start a new life, and they would have to move on. So, yeah, I don't see it. I don't see them pulling the. I don't think they have enough charisma on the screen to pull in an audience, but we'll see. Quigley Smitty's early life on the force would be more akin to Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But I can see that.
And that could actually work if he had a good cast around him.
Right? Yeah, I could see that. I don't see Bailey doing a show. I don't think that they have enough pull. It says it doesn't, although she and Nolan are married now, that doesn't mean her career stops. But if they pull a baby into this show, it's going to end that show. It's going to end the Rookie so fast.
Well, it's already been going for multiple seasons, so its days are probably numbered as much as it's a good show.
Yeah, I say it has 9 months. So Wade Gray pivots to local politics. Though he's an amazing sergeant, he could do more as a public servant.
I could kind of see that. That's reminiscent, I think, of Bosch, right? Didn't the police person go into politics? Like, it's kind of the same pattern.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, I can see that, sure. But what? It's going to end up like Suits kind of a thing?
I think it's going to end up like Bosch. Maybe.
Yeah, but
I don't
Bosch
know.
is still about police.
Correct.
And
It's not about the commissioner or the mayor or whatever.
And then Aaron Thorson becomes a hotshot defense lawyer, transitions from a cop to an attorney.
Maybe.
I don't know about that. Again, I mean, that's a hell of a pivot, right? So they say Aaron Thorson and Nolan bond early in The Rookie because they both have a difficult time being accepted by the LAPD, but for very different reasons. Nolan is ostracized because of his age, while Thorson had to sue the LAPD to be accepted into the program because he was previously accused of murder. Wow. So yeah, I could see, I could see that happening.
Well, it's also like other flip-flops that we've seen, right? We saw the attorney the defense attorney moved over to the prosecution.
Right.
And then in Bosch, we saw the cop move over to work for the defense attorney.
Right. Yeah. So it's be the hero or live long enough to be the villain, right? The Rookie International, please no. I'm gonna scroll on past that. And then Lucy Chen as an undercover agent, which I just don't see her. I don't see them pulling enough of an audience to be their own show. It's like the Rookie Feds. I just don't see it.
Exactly.
But that's okay. I mean, give it a try. I mean, it might be fun to watch, but who knows? They're going to need some spectacular writing. And for the most part, how are they going to? I don't know.
Well, number one, I would say they've done the most groundwork for if any of them are going to spin off, because she's already had undercover assignments. We've kind of gotten exposure to that. Like, I know these are just speculative, but I think this one is the furthest along the path.
Yeah, she's always been an ambitious person who put her career first because she's passionate about what she does, but actually her relationship actually started interfering with her career. They've never come close to how fun it is to watch her excel as an officer and a character. This makes her perfect candidate to lead a spinoff. Yeah, I don't know. Might be interesting, but we'll see. Okay, let's do this last article. This is about Despicable Me. It's over in the Continuity Report. Despicable Me is the first animated franchise in history to cross $5 billion. Despicable Me loomed large. Despicable Me 4 loomed large at the international box office, earning a mighty $88 million top charts. The animated sequel's global haul now stands at $437.8 million. Over the weekend, the Despicable Me series of movies became the first animated franchise in history to cross the $5 billion mark. I find this one
just really ridiculous.
It's amazing considering Despicable Me is a series of movies leading to $5 billion. But when you look at stuff, you're like, well, why didn't Frozen and Frozen 2 keep moving forward with the story?
They didn't move fast enough, I think. Yeah. I mean, if you lose your audience along the way because they're all growing up, I think that's a problem. But I misread this. I was thinking it was Despicable Me 4 crossed this there, but it's obviously the entire franchise.
Yeah.
But it's still impressive.
Yeah, Despicable Me 4 punted that over the line of $5 billion. Brett Lang over at Variety.com put the article together. There's some continuity issues with the franchise, apparently, but I haven't really... I mean, it's an animated series, so you kind of have to suspend disbelief.
Exactly. I mean, is that where you draw the line in that franchise?
Yes, that's where I draw the line. Continuity. I mean, the show is Continuity Report, for crying out loud. You kind of have to draw attention to those issues. In Indiana Jones, right? Indiana Jones?
Yes.
The original Indiana Jones, the girl the woman that he ends up saving and on the island is supposedly underage when they first meet. Dun, dun, dun. So there's a continuity issue here. In the story, they should have fixed that, right? Before the actual movie. But it's a continuity issue.
But nobody paid attention to it.
Until years and years later, yeah. So a former schoolmate turned bad guy and rival in Despicable Me 4 brings Steve Carell back as Gru, a reformed supervillain, and pits him against Will Ferrell as Maxim Lamal, a former schoolmate turned bad guy, as all former schoolmates do. Dun, dun, dun. Debuted across 35,000 screens, 11,000 locations to earn $11.8 million. Universal and Illumination produced the movie. So then they talk about Inside Out and other things, but Despicable Me 3, Despicable Me 4, Despicable Me 2 and 1, and the others combined, $5 billion. This says that Inside Out has earned a massive $1.36 billion. It's the only 2024 release to join the $1 billion club. So in 1 year, Inside Out 2, or
right?
Inside Out
I mean,
1.
They're gonna have to keep that franchise going.
Yep. And again, Herman's Head, I think, is the inspiration for that, because it preceded this by, what, 40, 50 years, something like that? When was Herman's Head out? Hold on.
1991. I looked that up earlier.
Did you? 1991. Dear God.
So like 30 years.
35 years. Yeah. Right? Oh my God.
33 years.
Oh, 91. Yeah, 33. Yeah. Math is hard. Anyway, that's it, folks. We are done. A Quiet Place. Shh. All right. Focus. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the movie theater lights, and we're going to snap back to the Continuity Reports front page, and that is it for our show. We're gonna reset, and Technology Today is the show after this. Be sure to follow us. You'll be informed when we start the show. It might end up being a Time Machine episode tomorrow, but I have mayoral duties tomorrow that will prevent me from doing it unless I reorganize. So I'm going to have a quick discussion, and we're going to restart in about 5 to 10 minutes. So stick around if you want to, and if you don't see us back in 10 minutes, then we probably won't do the show. That's okay. I'm Mayor Watt. That is the visualizer for the Sentient AI. I wish I could promise it. My throat, I'm losing my voice. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, see you in a little bit. You want to say bye?
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thank you for joining us for the Continuity Report.
Yeah, it's one of those nights. See you in a little bit. Maybe. Oh, somebody turned off the house lights and I just fell over a chair.